The Los Angeles Lakers aren't having the best season at the moment. Two of their biggest stars are currently injured. Technically, any other NBA team would have used the trade deadline to fix its roster. But just as the Lakers are known for doing, they did not use the NBA trade deadline to fix their issues. LeBron James is currently out due to a high ankle sprain and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Anthony Davis, on the other hand, has already missed 6 weeks due to an Achilles injury. Without properly utilizing the NBA trade deadline, this means that the Lakers would have to wait till the offseason before they can jump on some interesting deals. In this video, let's take a moment to understand the Los Angeles Lakers trade and why many have considered it to be a sad occurrence. Welcome to Courtside, where you are kept up to date with all the NBA buzzes, news, rumors, plus an unbiased analysis of the game. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any interesting information. The Lakers are currently without LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are out due to injuries sustained in separate games. Even if these stars aren't injured, it's obvious that the team wouldn't trade them. Similarly, the Lakers have stayed through with their cause, choosing not to even deal a majority of their roster. Since the injury of James, which happened after Davis, the Lakers have shown a bit of a struggle in the past week. In spite of this, they've also shown that they are all for keeping their young players rather than trading them out. Nevertheless, the team showed interest in signing Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors, but their interest wasn't strong enough since they refused to part with the likes of Kyle Kuzma. In fact, the Lakers were so close to trading Dennis Schroeder for Kyle Lowry, but the deal broke down when the Lakers refused to include Talen Horton-Tucker in the deal. Schroeder is 27 and is well behind his glory days. During the 2019-2020 season, the player had exhibited a rare efficiency, having one of his best seasons at Oklahoma City. However, his efficiency has dropped significantly since then and expects to find a new team in free agency during the offseason. What's shocking and devastating about this potential deal with the Lakers was that the Lakers were willing to trade Schroeder with Caldwell Pope, who is not only represented by the influential Rich Paul, but was also a key player in last season's championship. It's safe to say that the Lakers are betting on the return of LeBron James and Anthony Davis to bring them back to their best. They believe that when both players return, the squad will be healthy and dominant again. But despite that, the team is also looking to upgrade their roster during the buyout market. We need to first of all understand the importance of these two players on the team. Since the injury of James, the team recorded their 4th defeat in a row, even suffering a 109-101 loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. Without Davis, the team had gone 7-11 since the right calf injury of Davis 2 months ago. To make matters even worse, there are no indications that these players are returning soon. LeBron will most probably be back before the NBA playoffs, but nothing is guaranteed for Davis at the moment. The coach, Frank Vogel, has said that Davis is still a ways away despite completing on-court shooting drills in rehab for the last 2 weeks. The coach had said, "There's a strong belief with the team with what we have here when we are at full strength. There's a strong relief that we can win enough games to keep the ship afloat, so to speak, while Anthony and LeBron are out." At the end of the deadline trade, the Lakers ended up not making a single trade. Several analysts have lauded the decision of Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka not to trade any player during the NBA trade. Another group of analysts have argued that this isn't much of a decision, but rather something that happened because the team didn't get the player they wanted. The Lakers wanted Lowry, but they just were not willing to give the Toronto Raptors what they were asking for. The same part has argued that with the struggling play we've seen from the team in the past few weeks, could have been solved with a few trades, despite the absence of James and Anthony. It could also mean that Rob Pelinka has an unflinching faith in the abilities of his players. This faith, no doubt, could have a direct effect on the confidence of the players, causing them to improve in their next games. However, what the Lakers need is not some sort of motivation, but a need to fix the roster, which could have only been possible with a trade. Even though we've seen significant improvement from Talen Horton-Tucker, better play from Kyle Kuzma, and interesting performances in Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, the Lakers have shown a subtle lack of faith in these players. For example, Dennis Schroeder was offered in the trade for Kyle Lowry, including Caldwell Pope, who was a major player last season. In addition to this, the team has seen a well-balanced play from Alex Caruso, and Markieff Morris has been incredible. Honestly, this sounds like the team in fact made the right decision by not trading any single player. We must, however, remember that players like Marc Gasol and Wes Matthews are heavily struggling. The Lakers will also face a major problem in the offseason when the likes of Dennis, Alex Caruso, and Talen Horton-Tucker demand for significant raises. All of these players will be in free agency, and the Lakers have mentioned that they would like to re-sign all of these players. Even though the Lakers will be able to pay all of them handsomely, problem will then be a hefty luxury tax bill. This explains why the Lakers were desperate to trade Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Dennis Schroeder in a bid to reduce costs. Horton-Tucker has been impressive for the Lakers, but he surprisingly would not be as costly as Dennis, who just recently said no to a 4-year, $84 million extension from the Lakers. If the team had been successful in just trading Caldwell-Pope, then it would have been easy to agree to a Dennis Schroeder $21 million contract. Also, if the team expects to acquire a starting caliber point guard, then the NBA trade would have been their best bet. Since Dennis Schroeder rejected the last offer and would be in free agency this summer, there's a huge probability that he might sign for another team. The decision of the Lakers not to make a single trade might have initially appeared as the right move. It has turned to be a sad decision that would mostly have a drastic effect on the team. This is not the first time the Lakers have made a tacky NBA trade decision. In 1999, the team had traded Eddie Jones for Glenn Rice. Eddie Jones was an all-star the previous year and was one of the best perimeter defenders at shooting range. However, because Kobe Bryant was quickly becoming an NBA superstar, the Lakers decided to trade Jones when they could have re-signed him when he reached free agency. In exchange, the Lakers got Glenn Rice, J.R. Reed, and B.J. Armstrong. Jones ended up with the Charlotte Hornets, where he averaged 20 points and 2.7 steals per game, which was season high. Unfortunately for the Lakers, both Reed and Armstrong left the following season, except Rice, who was still in the league by 2002 and 3. In 1998, the team had also made the mistake of trading Nick Van Exel for Tony Batty and Tyronn Lue. Known for his crazy passes and shooting streaks, Nick Van Exel was a major player in Los Angeles during the 90s. During the 95-96 season, Exel recorded an average of 15 points and 7 assists. Even after the arrival of Shaquille O'Neal, the player still remained a major player on the court. Due to his bad behavior that caused him to fall out with his teammates, Exel was traded out of the Lakers to the Denver Nuggets in 1998, a team where he would record outstanding numbers. In return, the Lakers received Tony Batty and Tyson Lue. Unfortunately, both players refused to live up to the hype that preceded them, with Lue getting embarrassed by Allen Iverson in 2001 during the year's NBA Finals. Nevertheless, after a few years, Exel began to decline, and Derek Fisher, his replacement, had turned out to be a great choice. The craziest happened in 2012 when the Lakers decided to trade 4 future draft picks for Steve Nash. When news broke out about Nash joining the Lakers in 2012, many quickly concluded that the team was now a title contender. This was a very valid conclusion, considering how Steve Nash was during those years. But what the Lakers failed to acknowledge was the growing injury concerns about Nash. The player was no doubt still a dangerous point guard in 2012, averaging 10.5 assists per game with the Phoenix Suns in 6 of his final 8 years. So it kind of made sense that the Lakers thought that 4 future draft picks was worth a trade for Steve Nash, but as you already know, his time with the Lakers was fraught with injuries, and the 4 future draft picks ended up being a price tag too high for the player. The Nash trade had come as an attempt to push the Lakers to title contention, given the numbers of veterans on the team. The Lakers also made a wrong move in 1979 when they traded Adrian Dantley for Spencer Haywood. After a great college career at Notre Dame, Adrian joined the NBA and dominated it for years. In 1977, the star joined the Lakers, where he averaged 26.5 points per game and an average of 9 rebounds. However, his production subsequently dropped after he played with legends like Jerry West and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Despite his potential to still become one of the best, the Lakers decided to trade him to the Utah Jazz for Spencer Haywood in 1979. In Utah with the Jazz, Dantley would end up having a Hall of Fame career, while also averaging 30 points for 4 consecutive years. He also had the highest points in the NBA during the period of 1981 and 1984. Haywood, on the other hand, left the Lakers a year later during a struggle with cocaine addiction. He also once mentioned that he wouldn't hesitate to hire a hitman to murder Paul Westhead in 1980, the then coach of the Lakers. It would be quite unfortunate if the Lakers suffer from a bad trade decision in the 2020-21 season, just like they had done in previous ones. Do you think this will happen, or do you believe the team made the right call of not completing any trade? Tell us about it in the comments section. Thank you for watching. We are Courtside.